Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Your Kids podcast. Today we have with us Professor Parker. Professor Parker, introduce yourself.
How y'all doing? This is Professor Parker, Akil Parker, Professor Akil Parker. I'm a father of three and a brother that, loves math, even though I didn't always love math. But, once I learned math conceptually, I developed a love for it and a deeper appreciation for it. And I also realized how important it is for our people to understand it so that way we can, live better lives and thrive. So my life's work is to make it more palatable and more comfortable for our people to learn math and run towards it instead of running away from it,
Oh, yes. Speak on it. Because, yes, I'm a runner. I'm a track star. But, okay. All right. So you said it didn't start out this way, though. So take us through the journey. How did we get to all this math?
So, I always liked it, but I tell people, I did well. I looked forward to doing well on math for the clout because I realized at an early age that, for one, everybody not really good at this. Okay. And you get attention when you good at math, and you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people aren't. Okay. And I how my grandmothers would dote over me and people around my way, you get good grades and this, or whatever. So, but I was real big on, and I think part of it was the way it was taught back in the 80s and the 90s, just all algorithms. And I was good at memorizing algorithms. And that's why I was good at playing video games, because I remember the patterns and how to beat the levels and get to the next level. So when I would do math problems, it was just like playing video games. But I ran into trouble when I got to higher level math or standardized tests where it wasn't that straightforward, where you had to synthesize information and figure stuff out based on a conceptual understanding of the different types of problems, which I oftentimes was lacking. So that's more recently, in the past 6 or 7 years, when I became an adjunct professor at two colleges, first LaSalle University in Philly, and then Cheney University about an hour outside of Philly, HBCU. And I had to teach math methods courses to education majors that were about to become classroom teachers. So the new math, we really shouldn't call it new math. It's really different math, different instructional methods that a lot of people complain about. I had to learn it so that I could teach it to those students. And once I learned it, that gave me the conceptual understanding, because it's very much concept based. Instead of just giving you the algorithm, here, memorize this, carry the one or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So once I learned that, that's when I started to develop a love for math, because it really started to make sense. Whereas before it was it ain't make sense, but I knew how to get the right answer. And that's all I really cared about. But now I know how to get the right answer, and I know why it makes sense.
Homeschool families. Homeschool Your Kids Expo and Homeschool Beats Academy are teaming up to bring you a day of real support and real inspiration. Come explore curriculum and enrichment, meet trusted vendors, and connect with the homeschool community. And at our featured Expo stop, meet Homeschool Beats Academy and see how students ages 7 to 18 can create original music through beat making and production with parent-friendly guidance. Get dates and details at homeschoolyokidsexpo.com.
And it really I appreciate being able to explain the different concepts and the different methods in different ways to people. And also to draw the connections between something from calculus with something from statistics with something from arithmetic with something in geometry, and show how it's all interconnected, So that's where the love came in.
Okay. I'm following, but look, I'm doing a lot now. Had none, but I taught English, so I was on the other side of the spectrum. Although I respect math now, I did before.
But can we dig into that a little bit? Because
please,
I do remember when I was in 7th grade in English class, and we had to diagram sentences, and I remembered. When I learned how to do it, the day when the teacher introduced it, I realized that I liked it, and then I thought about why I liked it, and I realized, this reminds me of algebra class, because I was taking algebra 1 and 2. So I was like, this reminds me of algebra. So that enabled me to look at sentences in the English language like math equations. So like every sentence was an equation, and even like a lot. You see the algebra in a lot of sentences. Like if somebody say something like somebody writes like a sentence like this is not unlike blah blah blah. That's a double negative.
Yes, I'm about to say that. Don't. Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead. It is the thing. Right? Mm-hmm. That's just like with math. When you multiply negative by negative, you get a positive.
It makes positive, yes.
So it's so many parallels. It's so many parallels and so many overlaps. And also like what I would also like is to encourage English teachers to dig into the math, because a lot of children that suffer in math, it's not because they don't necessarily understand the math. They don't have the reading comprehension to be able to solve. Because like, you know, me and my people, we talk about naked math problems where I just like give you an equation like, here, 3x plus 5 equals 20. Go ahead, solve that. There are a lot of children that can solve that, no problem. But if I give you a paragraph, a scenario, word problem, you know, such and such did this and they got to cook this much and in this amount of time or whatever, and you would have to translate that paragraph into 3x plus 5 equals 20, you might not have the comprehension skills to be able to do that.
Yes.
So what I want too is like for the English teachers to work with the math teachers to show like, so we can like come together to like help the children with the reading comprehension skills. Because like I would tell students and I still tell students this, like, listen, you got to read first before you can do math. You got to be able to do the reading.
Indeed. Matt, you was taking Algebra 1 in 7th grade? Look, I'm stuck back there. You was taking Algebra 1 in 7th grade?
I think so, because I want to say I took Algebra 2 in the 8th grade, but I'm not sure if it was out. Maybe they took Algebra 1 and like split it over 2 years.
Homeschool families, are you ready to refresh your plans for the year? Join us at the Homeschool Your Kids Expo. Meet curriculum and enrichment vendors, discover new programs, and connect with a community that gets it, all in one place. Come with questions, leave with real options. Get event details and register now at homeschoolyourkidsexpo.com. That's homeschoolyourkidsexpo.com.
Because I know I was solving equations in 7th grade. I definitely was. We was doing systems. Yeah. Because I remember in 7th grade, we had to memorize all the perfect squares up to 25, which was very helpful. So like 1 times 2, all them up to 25 times 25. Because we needed that, you know, for a lot of the problem solving we was doing. 8th grade was a little rough though. I remember I didn't really like math in 8th grade because I didn't really understand it. I don't know if it was a disconnect between me and my teacher or what have you, but I still finished strong. I ended up with a strong grade, still ended up graduating like the top of my 8th grade class. Not the top, but I was like top 10%.
Nice. Yeah, no, my math journey, as you pointed out. It's a bit different. And I think it was a lot teacher related. I feel like it could have probably been teachers not been so rigid. So like they were just so mean. Like that's something said unkind about them before, but they were mean. Like they were mean. Miss Johnson was mean. Miss McCoy was mean. Like I still have these names. I'm 41 years old and I still remember these ladies. But I didn't go past Algebra 2 in school. So when I hear people talk about calculus, trigonometry, and stuff, I couldn't even tell you what a calculus I couldn't tell you nothing about it.
So I took calculus in 12th grade, but I didn't really, you know what, I'll be honest, like I got caught up in the hype around it. Because when you hear calculus, the way it's marketed towards as if it's difficult. And I was in calculus, but I think I kind of like psyched myself out. So I didn't do as well. I mean, I passed the class, but 12th grade, like once I got accepted to my college of choice, I didn't really care as much about my grades anyway, but I wish I'd have taken it more seriously.
Your kid has music in them. They just need the right tools to let it out.
Homeschool Beats Academy teaches kids ages 7 to 18 how to make real beats at home on their schedule, in their own style. No experience needed. Grab the complete First Beat Kit free at homebeatsacademy.com. That's homeschoolbeatsacademy.com.
And because a lot of my mistakes and a lot of my classmates, my teacher used to always say this to us. He was like, it's not the calculus y'all don't understand, it's the algebra. Y'all are making mistakes in algebra. And I was like, but I'm good in algebra though. But I think I would make like petty, small mistakes and small errors because of just being caught up in the idea that calculus is supposed to be hard. And because all my life I've been conditioned to believe that, oh, that's calculus. That's something to be scared of. It's too difficult. You probably not smart enough to, that's only something for the Chinese kids and the white kids and the Arab kids or whatever. So who you think you are that you're going to tell in calculus, right? So I might have been doing problems and thinking like, okay, this is probably right, but then second guessing myself, and wrong answer, right? But I took calculus. Trig wasn't too bad. I had a good teacher for trig. I took probability and statistics. I did that in 10th grade, actually. It was like split. First semester was like probability.
What?
Yeah, it was like probability and statistics for the first semester of the school year, and then trigonometry for the second semester of the school year. Yeah.
So I took statistics in college. And it took me 2 years to pass it. I was playing basketball. First year I failed, and then I had to take it a whole nother year later, and I still only managed to get a C. That jank was hard for me, and I tell people like I don't even feel like math is like I said it earlier. I think it's the way that we're being asked to do it. Like you was talking about the new math at the beginning, like how they've changed up the whole system, and now it's like you got to do little slanted lines and da-da-da. My thing was, if I could tell you the answer, that should be enough. I don't like that show your work. I don't like that, and I get why. Especially algebra, I get why, because especially if you get the wrong answer, you're able to root it back and, you see where you went wrong without having to do the whole thing over. But I don't like that. I still don't like that.
I mean, it's helpful. I mean, well, you're like you said yourself, like, the reason behind like having to show your work. Because from a teacher standpoint, it's like if you get a wrong answer, but you didn't show your work, then I don't know how to help you. I want to help you.
Right.
I want to know like where you made the mistake. But see, here's another thing, too. Even if you get the right answer, I still want you to show your work, because you might have got the right answer by coincidence. You might have did the wrong thing that led you to the right answer somehow coincidentally. Or you might have just kind of got lucky, because sometimes you'll get just like in life, like you'll get a positive outcome from doing the wrong thing. And then, you might have got lucky, right? And then you go through, well, I can just get over, and you expect to get that outcome, but then you don't get that outcome the next time, then you be mad, right? Because you might have thought like, oh, okay, well, I could just do it like this, but like, nah, you can't really do it like, well, there were other variables that were at play, that also caused that to happen. Okay. Not taken into consideration.
Yeah. So with this love of math, you created a program, All This Math?
Yeah, so
okay, tell me about it. Yeah.
That's my company. We started out as a tutoring company in 2007. Okay. And I went kind of full time with it in 2018 at the end of the school year. That's when I retired from the classroom in June of 2018. And I mean, I was an adjunct at LaSalle at the time, and I was tutoring. And I think I was working at another program also, like another like Saturday program here in Philly. And then the following year, I started teaching at Cheney. I was still tutoring, teaching at LaSalle, teaching at Cheney. And I was teaching at another night school program, too. I was teaching at I had a bunch of jobs. but then I kind of started phasing out the other teaching opportunities and started focusing in on building up All This Math. And then we went from tutoring. I started doing some educational consulting work. And nowadays, I'm doing a lot of parent math workshops, because I'm convinced that a couple of things. Parents are the most underutilized resource. for one.
Oh, I like how you said that. Yes. Okay, go ahead.
But two, if we're serious about changing math outcomes in our community and with our children, we got to go into the household. We got to teach the parents. See, everybody want to complain what the parents not doing, but ain't nobody trying to teach the parents.
Yes.
How that goes into just like racism and like anti-black, like this belief in black pathology that we have. We have these fundamental beliefs that black parents don't want to help their kids, don't care about it. Nonsense. Like there's plenty of statistical data that can debunk all of that. But these are just the narratives that we get fed. These are just racist narratives. People do the best they can with the resources they have. So it's like, all right, so if you're a parent, you got 3 kids or 2 kids and you 30 or 40, like how would you be expected to really help them when you was a child in middle school, you didn't have a positive relationship with mathematics? Like, get that. Like you might have graduated high school and just started working. You might even went to college and then just started working, but you never had to really learn those skills. And now here it is. Now you got children years later and they need to learn the skills. And then how can you be expected to help them? So schools, like we become too over reliant on schools to do the work of being the primary educator. Whereas I think that, well, for one, we can't trust these schools, right? I do work with schools, but I know that the higher ups, the people way up the food chain, they don't really want our children to really learn because that would upset the status quo of the society. Even though I want our children to really learn because I'm trying to upset the status quo of the society. But there are well-meaning teachers, there's some well-meaning administrators, but we got to help the parents because schools need to be spaces for practice, not primary education. They have shown that they're not equipped to be the primary space for education. So my vision is for math class to become like recess in the sense that in recess is fun because you come to recess and you show off your skills from games and sports that you learned how to play in your neighborhood, on your block, around your way. That's why recess is fun. You may not go to school to learn how to play basketball, learn how to play football, learn how to like jump rope or whatever. You practice those skills, but you learned around the way. Math class should be the same way. But in order for that to happen, those of us that can, we got to teach the parents. Because I always hear that. I've recently been hearing a lot about this kind of catchphrase, reimagining classrooms and reimagining schools, which is great. That sounds great in theory. What I'm more focused on is trying to reimagine the Black household. If we can reimagine it's like, all right, so in the Black household, this is what we do. Like we do math in the Black household. Like we practice math in different ways, whether while we cooking, while we like putting groceries away, while we watching TV, watching stuff on YouTube. Cause it's like, it's numbers and, quantitative data all around us. We just might not notice it. You could teach watching YouTube videos. You could teach scientific notation when you look at the number of views on a video. Cause like on my YouTube channel, if I got like 9.12K subscribers, the K stands for 1,000. That's 10 to the third power. So that's like 9.12 times 10 to the third. And then you can convert that to standard form. You just do 9.12 times 1,000. So that means I got 9,120 subscribers. So that's like, it's like a lot of little things that you can do just from the activities that you're already involved in. So if we can like reimagine the household and make those adjustments, then when the children go to school, if they go to school, then they're not stepping into a space of a math class where there's a lot of unfamiliarity, because that's where the anxiety comes in.
Yes.
Blindside, you hit over the head, but it's like, if I'm already familiar with this, now I'm here to just practice. I'm practicing what my old heads and my elders and the elders and my parents, grandparents, uncles, aunties have already been teaching me. I'm in school to learn, to practice that, as opposed to kind of being at the mercy of the school and like to learn it primarily. And then what that also does, I think, is it eliminates the potential negative impact of a racist teacher or a classist teacher that don't like poor or working class Black kids. like, you know what I'm saying? Like teachers that have those types of hangups, they become less relevant, because it's like learning is a very vulnerable experience. And if I know you don't like
Yes.
and I don't like you, and you know what I'm saying, it's going to be difficult for me to learn from you. But if I'm
Yes.
I just to practice what my people already taught me. I might need to ask a couple of questions here and there because I might have forgot something, but that means you become less important if you're one of those teachers. But if you're a good teacher and you're cool, then, that's cool too. You can still help me practice.
Indeed. I love all of what you're saying. I am upset though, because I don't know if my internet, what's going on, but it keep pausing you. Like, and I'm trying, that's why I keep moving my laptop. I don't know if you've seen it. I don't move it so many different times. Like, what is going on? Ah! But okay, we're gonna work it out though. No, I love, because I definitely focus on the literacy aspect, but I also focus on parents' involvement in general. And I wholeheartedly understand the importance of a parent in a child's educational journey. So what you're saying, and the fact that you're doing the workshops structured to parents, because of you understanding that they are the most important resource that their child can have when it comes to their education, and that foundation should be started at home, so that when they go to these schools, they are more equipped and more prepared. I love it, sir. I love it. So all this math is a tutoring service, but it's also, you have parent workshops.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. What else you got?
We do some consulting work. So I put the parent workshops under the umbrella of consulting. We also do teacher consulting, is educational consulting in schools as well. And we create resources. So we have the YouTube channel, which is a resource. We have my book, How to Use All This Math, Volume 1. I published that in 2023. That's when I really writing down. It took me like 2 years to finish. I guess I started it like 2021, started writing it. But I started documenting like how different everyday activities can become math lessons.
Okay.
As an example, like one chapter is on something I call license plate games. And that's something I do with like looking at the other license plates when you're in the car and just taking the numbers and like adding all the numbers together. Because you'd be surprised like how many children don't have that fact fluency. They may not, off the top of their head, they may not know 9 + 6 is 15. You might be in 4th or 5th grade and not knowing that. And that holds you back. That's going to hold you back. Because having to sit there and think about what 9 + 6 is, and it's really just in many cases, it's just an issue of a lack of practice, just having enough practice. So think about all the times you're in the car and you're surrounded by license plates, where that's time that, just like in sports, you could be getting your reps in. Because that's really like, for me, like I see so many parallels between learning math, becoming proficient at math, and becoming proficient in a sport. You got to get your reps in. You got to practice. You got to be shooting in the gym. You got to be, in baseball, you got to have batting practice. Football, you got to you got to throw and catch and pass. You got to be doing that. And just doing those fundamentals over and over and over again. Like I be telling, like anytime I tutor somebody, young brother, young sister, and they're an athlete, I'm like, listen, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. How'd you get good at volleyball? How'd you get good at basketball? How'd you get good at baseball, soccer, whatever? Like you did this, you're doing the same fundamental things over and over and over again. The math is the same way. And you'll see it. You'll see it. Multiplication facts, doing work with fractions, decimals, practicing with percentages, all of that. It's really, it's such a parallel.
Indeed. And I would be honest, like I have definitely, I feel like I've hindered my girls' development in math. Like you said, with the repetition and understanding, like the more you do it, the better it is. Like we're on multiplication right now. Both of them. I have a 9 and a 12-year-old, and I'm trying to not necessarily teach the memorization with the mathematics, with the multiplication facts, but just like, I don't know, like, I guess it is memorization because, but I show them on the board, like we use whiteboards and everything, but I don't feel like we do it enough. Like we do math twice a week, but I feel like it needs to probably be 4 times for them to really get stronger in it. And I feel like that's my little hold up, because that requires me to have to do it 4 times a week. But yeah, I'm healing. Look, I'm healing, Professor Parker. Yes, please.
Yeah. So what I would do, in addition to the 2 days a week, I would print out, and this is what I did with my daughter, with my son and my oldest son and my daughter. I haven't started this with my youngest. My youngest is 6. He'll be 7 this month. I haven't started with the multiplication facts with him yet, but I would print out blank multiplication tables, and I would have them do one every day. But with my daughter got kind of hip to it. I realized that what my daughter would do is she memorized where all the numbers go in the boxes. So once I realized she was doing that, she wasn't practicing no more. She wasn't looking at the vertical axis and the horizontal axis to see, okay, 7 times 8. Okay, put 56 right there. She was just putting the numbers in the boxes from memorization because she did it so much. I said, all right, I got something for you. So I had to deviate from the multiplication tables. I had to print out those worksheets where they just give you the straight equations, like 8 times 7 equals blank, 3 times 6 equals blank, and then like a page full of those. So it forces you gotta actually read the equation and, fill in the blank and come up with the product, so, cause I would suggest that, like doing one a day. And then actually you might get more buy-in if with the multiplication tables, if you do it with them and then y'all rate. Y'all race to see who finishes, but it's got to be.
Well, that's what they do with each other. They're racing. I use flashcards, and I have my whiteboard for when I have my board for when they have trouble, and I'll do the math out with them and show them. But I don't. I mean, I could participate, but I know my multiplication, so it's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little different. Hold on, because I want to pause this real quick. All right, thank you for bearing with us, y'all. It was me, my lovely internet acting up, but this is so good, because I need help. I told you I'm healing, so I'm trying to figure out how to best. But I've already said that I'm gonna have to get a tutor for my girls. As far as math go, I know my limits. Okay, I definitely know my limits, and I talk too much about support and making sure that you reach out to the resources and don't think that you have to do it all alone. So I'm listening to my own advice. And once I get a nice little foundation, I'm going to pass them on off, because I don't want y'all talking about me when they get to you and you be like, damn, I'm going to teach you that. So yes, no, I'm loving this. So you do consultation, you do tutoring, you do the parent workshops. The tutoring, are these whole one-on-one sessions or are these group sessions?
Mainly one-on-one. Well, I have done group sessions, but I haven't done a group session in a while. I prefer to do the group sessions in person. I really tutoring in person, teaching in person, but that's not always a possibility. So, but yeah, I do individual and group as well. Yeah.
Indeed. And it's wild that you mentioned and talked about they don't want, they being the systems, not wanting our kids to do better in math. Because I used to say or show that they're doing better in statistically wise. Because when that new math was introduced, I said, oh, these kids must have been showing out. Now they don't got this whole new system and it's confusing. And it's what is it? Do you feel like how they're doing it now is better?
I think I think I take a both and approach. Let me say that. Because I think algorithms are good. Memorizing algorithms are good. Being able to get to the answer. But the conceptual understanding is also very important. But the challenge with the so-called new math is that the teachers have to be trained in it and the teachers buy into it. And then it also requires, like I said, that at-home support, because you got to kind of with the conceptual understanding, you kind of got to bring certain things to the table. You might have to already know, what the factors are of certain numbers. Your multiplication facts, your facts, your addition facts, subtraction facts, division facts. And if you don't know those certain foundational elements, then it really doesn't matter whether we're doing old math or new math. Like you still not going to be able to learn, you know? But like my hope is for the home to be like restructured so that we're practicing math like every chance we get, you know, every time you see something on TV. I do stuff with like nutrition labels on snacks, especially junk food. I call it lemonade math because it's like lemons, you make lemonade out of it. It's like a lot of the junk food we be eating, we know better. We know we shouldn't be eating that stuff. But I'm like, listen, if we're gonna eat this junk food, we're at least gonna make a math lesson out of it. We're gonna learn some math while we eating these honey buns or these oatmeal Doritos, whatever. You know what I'm saying? The Takis with the red 5 and the yellow.
Oh my goodness, yes.
It's like, all right, we about to calculate some of these nutrition facts. You know, I do a thing where I talk about unit price. I do this at my workshops. I talk about unit price, but at a grocery store will tell you like unit price per ounce. That doesn't really resonate with me. I want to know how much one chip costs. And you can figure it out because the nutrition label will tell you how many servings are in the bag, how many chips per serving. And also it's a good conversation to have with your children because then it gets into like mathematical reasoning and seeing if they can figure out how to figure it out based on the information given. Because that's problem solving. Because in life, I mean, we got information. Sometimes you got all the information you need to solve a problem. But if you don't know how to use the information, you still
yes.
So with situations like that, you can practice problem solving and they can figure that out. And then as long as I know the total cost of the bag, I take the total cost of the bag and I divide it by the number of chips. And that's another conversation because how do I know to divide it that way as opposed to dividing the number of chips by the cost? It gets into the mathematical reasoning and it's very conceptual. So, and imagine like every time then I told the parents, I'm like, look, you can incentivize, them getting snacks. So if they want some Doritos, tell them, yeah, you can have 75 cents worth, but you got to calculate it is.
I like that.
Like how many chips is that going to be? Because they might end up being like 6 cents per chip. But also too, like I like the concept of children understanding unit price because that puts them in the mindset of a producer or a business owner instead of just a consumer. Because one of the things I say is, financial literacy is important, but the mathematical literacy is really at the base of financial literacy. Just like media. You need mathematical literacy to understand media literacy. When they out here on these social media platforms or television throwing percentages at us, these politicians saying this and saying that, corporations and companies trying to advertise to us, telling us 9 out of 10 people believe this. It's like, whoa, hold up, bro. Like, who did you serve?
It's like, yeah, I'm always like that. I'm always, because you didn't ever ask me. Like, I'm not in that statistic. You ain't ask me.
Yeah. like talking to people about, they was like, yeah, like Family Feud. Like, how is that the most popular answer? Who did you ask?
Yeah.
So they play around. Like, I'm reading this book right now, and this book was published in 1993. It's called 200% of Nothing. And it talks about basically math abuse as like a parallel to child abuse and how like corporations, other entities, politicians, they'll like misrepresent data and information and numbers and use them to lie to us. And if we don't know any better, then we'll just get lied to. And they'll make it sound good, but if you understand the math, then you'll know to scrutinize it. But if you don't understand the math, you won't even try to scrutinize it. You'll just go with the flow.
Exactly.
So when the children be like, when am I ever going to use this in life? For one, what they got to understand is there are many people that do not want you to ever use it in life. So they want because when you see that commercial or even listening to rap music, you listen to that rapper say something that makes absolutely no sense, like mathematical ability, mathematical understanding, you realize that that's nonsense. But instead, because you don't have the mathematical wherewithal, it sounds good the way he says it, the way he or she says it, it sounds good. And the beat is decent. So it makes you want to believe it. And your filter never gets activated. your spidey senses never start tingling, so to speak. And you don't sit there and be like, wait a minute, hold up, bro. Okay, I get it. It's just entertainment. Okay, whatever. He was just trying to rhyme some words together. But come on, bro. Nah, that don't make sense. But that's how we got to start like really like critically listening to the messages that we're receiving. You know, saying because just like with commercials, but a lot of rap music is just 4-minute, 3-minute long commercials. That's why they just advertising products, services, lifestyle, vacation destinations, jewelry, all these different types of things. They tell us it's art and it's music, but really it's just a commercial. They just commercials. Yes. That's why, like, I remember years ago, I was like, you know, you hear the radio stations be like, we going commercial free, 18 songs in a row. Those 18 songs are commercials, bro.
Because I got my Fendi bag, about to hop on this private jet and go to buy.
They advertise. They all advertise. That's all it is. It's all it is. It's a long advertisement over a beat. It's a jingle. It's a jingle. It's like a commercial jingle. That's all. What a lot of the music is. You know, we got to start.
I love that. I feel like I need to buy your book because I love what you said about the chips and doing the ingredients and using the math facts for that. And my girls, like, they ask for math while we're walking around. Like, they'll ask for a multiplication factor. Like, can I get a math problem? Like, okay. What's 7 times 7?
For you. So, you know how we as parents, we always tell these back in the day stories. Back in my day, these stories. So I did that with my daughter a few years ago. Well, not a few years ago, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago. But I was trying to introduce her to the concept of negative numbers. So I was telling her a story about something I did when I was 7. And I was like, Asada, how old were you when that happened? So, of course, she looked at me like I was crazy. And because she wasn't born yet. But I was trying to concept of negative numbers. So, you know what I'm saying? And then she had to go through the process of figuring out what her negative age was. So there's a chapter in my age. So, and just imagine, like, every time we're talking to our children about something that happened before they were born, or even if we talk about history, like we could be talking about, I don't know, okay, so they, you know, the voting, everything that's going on with the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was the most recent one. You have a conversation like, you know, when was the Voting Rights Act of 1965? How old were you when that happened? So for me, I was born in 1980. So that means I was negative 15 years old when the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was put on the books. And then also in terms of like historical relevance, it also puts history into perspective because like 65 is the same year that Malcolm got assassinated. King was assassinated in 68. In school, I always remember hearing about, when I heard about those things, or even when my parents told me about those things, I always kind of envisioned it as like, man, that was such a long time ago. But then I'm like, but wait a minute, 68 is only 12 years before I was born. And then like now as adults, we're like 12 years is really not a long time. So Dr. King was alive 12 years before I was born. Malcolm was alive walking the streets of Harlem and other places just 15 years before I was born. That's not a long time. But in your mind, you might be thinking like, man, that was such a, like, you might feel. You might feel like it's like 1,000.
And then all the pictures in black and white. So you always be like, it's got to be so long ago. But I always thought about my mom's age. Like, so she was born in 63. So everything I compare to her age, like, no, my mom was like 5 when that happened. Like, you know, that's was always my thing. I didn't think about how far it was from when I was born. I was born in 84. But that's how I conceptualized, like, okay, no, that wasn't long ago at all. Like my mom was alive.
Yeah, so that, the negative age, like, you know, helps them, it enables them to practice with the negative numbers. And also, if you're talking about like a historical fact, you basically have created a word problem, a math word problem based on that historical fact. Like I'm on my class that I do teach one online class on the narrative platform. If you're familiar with Karen Hunter and Dr. Greg Card, they started this platform. It's like an educational platform and a community, an online community for like Black folks and whatnot. The educational side is called Narrative with a K in the front. But there's like a social media community called Nubia, which also has a K in the front. I teach a class called hismatics on Thursdays. And on this upcoming Thursday, I'm talking about Martin Delaney. Martin Delaney, and we're also talking about how to calculate car notes, because I'm doing it on percentages. And I'm trying to show the practical applications of percentages. So we're going to deal with, different, car loans, principal amount, different interest rates, different terms of months that you got to pay off the loan and whatnot. But like Delaney was born in 1812, May 6th, 12. So his birthday's actually tomorrow. But, so we're going to, talk about like, how old were you in 1812? And then like, it helps you because you're practicing with that number. Now that number has a significance. And I think about how all the math problems that I've assigned over the years before I started doing this, it's kind of like how the gamblers say, like, leaving money on the table. Like, could have been associating those numbers with like historical events, dates, people's birthdays, which might have, it's a really like, it's an easy way to just like sneak in like a history lesson. Just saying like, I love dealing with like 1804 and 1791 because Haitian Revolution popped off in 1791, ended in 1804. So I'll create math problems that include those two numbers just so I can have a conversation. So I can talk about that.
Nice. I'm loving this, like, because it's making me think like, well, more ways to teach my children, really, because that is something like I've had so many conversations with math whiz, math professors, math teachers, math tutors, all that good stuff. So it's like I'm coming around to an understanding. And I told you I'm reading that book, Science of Self, which is talks about, just like it's in us, like it's embedded in us. We're born with it. It's funny because my daughter, my oldest, always talks about this government math. Like anytime I'm showing her like, how to solve an equation or something. I don't like this government math. Like, and reading that book, it makes me think like, because and how we started initially, like the way that the things are taught is just so confusing. Like you see all these YouTube channels, TikToks, whatever. And they're showing you like, oh, okay, I just recently saw a video that the man wasn't carrying the one. He was bringing the whole thing down and just putting it over math places. So it was like, okay, well, dang, I could have been doing it that way. I didn't have to carry the one to make myself all confused. I've seen a lot of different videos that are showing shortcuts of how to find that math equation. But then it comes back to showing the work. It's not going to be accepted if you don't do it how it's being taught.
Yeah. And I'm an advocate of like having as many different ways to do problems as possible. I want children to have like choices. Because I think that also teaches them discernment, because you have like, if you know of like 8 different methods to multiply, you can make a conscientious decision as to like, okay, well, what's the most efficient method based on the way this particular problem looks, as opposed to a lot of times, like some schools might just give you one way to do it. And then you got to use that one way every time, so it also, I think it helps the critical thinking when you have a lot of different, you got to decide. So now,
which one works best? Yeah.
It gives you more agency as a learner, because now I'm like, okay, well, I got 8 different ways I could do this. I could use this way, but then maybe not. Maybe I'll use another way. You know what I'm saying? Different things to think about. But can I read a line from this book, which probably is relevant to the book you're reading? So from this book, 200% of Nothing, he says, this is in like chapter 2. He says, we perform calculations every day, far more than we realize. Every conclusion we reach, every decision we make has a calculation of some sort behind it, whether we are conscious or not. So it's like anytime you make a decision, like, child asks you, can they have some ice cream or can they have some snacks or whatever? Like we calculating in our head, like, okay, should I say yes? Should I say no? What's my rule? Did I tell them like how much have they eaten already? How close is it to bedtime? Is she lactose?
Like deductive reasoning.
Yeah, we doing all that, but it's innate. We're just naturally doing it. We're not writing out the equation, but it's in us. So every decision we make, like, who we should be friends with, who we should get into relationships with, like we're calculating. you know. But it's just, I think in the society, we don't market it that way. We don't see it that way. We just see it as, oh, that's just something you do. Nah, it's all mathematics. It's all like everything we doing. And to your point, in school, we don't teach math that way. We teach math as if it's some separate, abstract, exclusive subject only reserved for certain people. And actually, I would even some teachers, they teach math, like they accept this idea that math is difficult and that this idea that math is not for everybody. So just math teacher in itself is like a flex for some people, because it's like, I don't really want you to learn this. I'm not really teaching it so that you can learn it. I'm just really trying to flex and show off and show you that I know it. I'm trying to flex and show you, look at me up at the board. Boom, 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 boom.
Real quick. Yeah.
I don't care if I can't explain it to you in a way that you're going to understand it. That ain't my problem. That's all you. Especially when you get to the college level. The college level is crazy. Like, you know, because a lot of them, they never learned how to teach. And they just times with people that just kind of caught on quickly in their own school experience. And they're just doing it. And you got to just figure it out. You might get lucky, you know, have a professor that actually is going to break it down. But a lot of K through 12 teachers are like that too. They're just like, you know, it's like, I'm really here to flex. Like, I don't really want you to learn it. And don't let you, and here's another thing too. See, these are the things I like to talk about on these podcasts, because nobody's really talking about these things. A lot of teachers that are not very good at teaching, if they work at an academically competitive, rigorous school, they get to hide behind the reputation of the school. So if the child don't catch on a lot of times, now granted, some children don't always apply themselves, but there are certain situations where children are applying themselves and they still don't understand. But if you're in a math class at a special admission magnet school that, you know, everybody and their mother wants their kid to go to, then the first thing they're going to do is look at the kid and say, well, maybe you can't handle the rigor. And I'm like that before. And I'm like, nah, he just can't, homeboy can't teach. I don't care what school it is. He can't teach.
Yes. So, and the thing, like, that's the same with, like, just kids learning differently. It's like, okay, maybe if you were to explain it differently, but teachers, like, because they get so systemic with their methods and they do them for long, you know, maybe I've been teaching this way for decades, and it's like, girl, it don't work no more. Like, upgrade your method. like we are different now. These kids are different.
Yeah, you gotta make adjustments. You gotta make the necessary adjustments. That's
yes. Before labeling so quick. And I like how you said, like, it's like they do put it in as like, I guess when I was younger, it was like, oh, okay, you like reading, so you like English. You must like English and history. You know how they say science and math go together. So it's like you have to pick a side. So I picked the English side because I've always loved reading. However, it's like I could be well-rounded in all. I could have been well-rounded in all. I love science too. Math, you know, I'm still Hitler because Ms. McCord did a number on me and it was geometry. Look, let's talk about it real fast. So geometry, I took in 10th grade and I don't know. It was just the most difficult thing ever. And she did not want it. She was so mean and just like, okay, either you gonna get it or you not understanding, like, girl, I can get it, but I need it broken down a little bit better than what you doing. So, but instead of her doing that, she just put me out. Look, she put me out and put me in intro to geometry. And so I had to take geometry for a whole nother year and a half. After the first, like, I took geometry basically 2 years. And that just messed me up. Like, I was just like, okay, I'm done with math. I don't want to do none of this no more. And I did algebra 2, and I told you I cut it off after that. Like, I literally changed my diploma because I didn't want to take no more maths. I could have got an advanced diploma. Oh, but it took one more math. Don't even worry about it. Standardize me, please. Look, I'm okay with the standard. Like, get me out of here. So that's how I was with math. Like, but I'm really big on my life path numbers. So I'm calculating all the time. Like I'm looking for signs. I'm really big on angel numbers. So I'm looking at those numbers. Like, so I get that math, and I have really good friend. I call her one of my sisters. She's always talking, girl, you do math every day. You do math
Yeah.
every day. Like, and I get it. I do, but it's just it's the experience.
Your conception of what math is to you is formed by your experience, like in that geometry class, and it's triggering.
Yes, very.
So
Very. And then now I'm teaching two little people, and now it's like, I'm reliving stuff all over again. But I'm so gentle and patient with them. Like I really am, like, because of my experience. I'm just like, we could step away from this if we need to. I know we need to do it more though, for their sake, for them to, be able to move through the facts and be able to move to different concepts, because we've been stuck on multiplication for a minute now, and I feel like we should have been done with this.
Well, it's great that you're patient with them, because so you're like what they would call like the hero as opposed to the villain, because the villain create origin story is like hurt people hurt, like I ain't understand, I hated math, you gonna hate it too, watch this. That's
the thing too, because they know I dislike math. I feel like that's kind of rubbed off on them. They don't necessarily always want, but I'm like, y'all got to pick one, because they don't want to read either, but they gonna read. So it's like, you don't want to do math, you don't want to read. What y'all want to do? They don't want to write. They don't want to do nothing for real but live. But they know who I am, so they know they got to do it. But I know I know one conversation made me change how I talk about math in front of them, because I did notice that my oldest, especially, because she's just wants to be like me so bad. Yeah, I mean, you don't like math, so first of all, don't do that. Don't do that, okay? You need to been through what I went through.
Yeah, but I wanted to say, so I was fortunate in. So I went to a high school where we had to take it complete weed out program. Knife fresh in the door. We had to take algebra 2 and geometry concurrently. Had to take the same classes. A lot of my classmates didn't make it. They didn't make it.
I would have been one.
They ended up getting kicked out. They couldn't handle it. But it's like, it's unless you had a strong foundation in middle school, it's like it's almost a setup for failure. Because you come in ninth grade taking algebra 2. But I had 2 black men as my black man. Mr. Brown was my algebra 2 teacher, and I had met him in the summertime because I attended the summer program, and he was the math teacher. So I got to know him and his teaching style. So that was fortunate. Then a brother named Mr. Bessex, remind me, Teddy Pendergrass, real smooth, middle-aged brother. Had a jewelry on with the sweaters and whatnot. Is real smooth. He taught geometry. At the beginning of the school year, geometry, it was a little rough because I didn't understand proofs. But once he helped me to understand proofs and what a proof was, what the goal is with a proof and what you're doing, you're basically just trying to prove an argument. And that's what I tell people about one of the kind of hidden values of geometry is it's not so much about the shapes, because a child will be like, I don't want to be an interior decorator. I don't want to be an architect. Why I got to do this for? What do I care about triangles and trapezoids for? The thing is, that's just an example that we use to develop the skill of developing a cogent argument and being able to prove it and arrive at a conclusion. As opposed to what a lot of people do, and we see this on social media all the time. It's like, well, I feel like, and this brother put me on to this concept. He calls them fact-free opinions. Got fact-free opinions, and I was like, damn, that's real, because there is a lot of people out here. They just feel like a certain way because they just want to feel that way. Like somebody might say,
how they believe.
Yeah, it's like, well, I think 2 + 2 is 5. Like, okay, brother, hope that works out for you. Like, I just, because like no reason, they don't even provide a reason. No reason.
Oh yeah, no.
It's just how I feel. Like, okay, well, one of the things geometry can do is, it's like because you could say 2 + 2 is 5 if you want to, but can you provide a series of reasons and rules and laws that substantiate your claim. So I say, well, prove that this is a right triangle. All right. I'm going to show, okay, well, if this is this, and that's that, and then that's that, and then that's that, and then that's that, then that's got to be a right triangle. So I'll give you like 4 reasons. I take some given information, and then I proceed through a process, and then I arrive at the conclusion. Years ago, like 2016, I was at a conference, and I had a criticism of Black Lives Matter as a movement, and I connected it to geometry, because at least what it appeared to me, what the Black Lives Matter movement was attempting to do was prove that Black Lives Matter. I'm not trying to prove to white people that my life matters. That's given information. I already know my life matters. We should be trying to prove something else. So just like in a geometric proof, you start out with some given information or some background information, and your goal is to arrive at a conclusion. Now, the conclusion might be, well, how are we going to get more resources? How are we going to get more land? How are we going to get healthy food? How are we going to get better educational opportunities?
Yes.
And we can prove that this method is the best method to get that. But I'm not trying to prove that my life matters. Like, I already know my life matters. And actually, the racist white people that they're addressing, they know our lives matter too. They just know that our lives matter for different reasons, because they just want to profit off of us.
Indeed.
Of us no more. Just like in chattel slavery, like the game really hasn't. It's the same game, just manifested in a different way. So all that. So like that right there. Understanding geometry helps you to understand political science in a different way, and understand, so because you might get caught up in, because when I feel bad for people that are like caught up trying to prove themselves to white people, and like waste a lot of time. I think it's a waste of time, in my opinion. But I got facts to substantiate it, though, why that's a waste of time. I got facts. Like, I can go to books and historical texts to confirm that. But yeah, they just spend a lot of time trying to prove their humanity to people that have already decided that you're not human. So I'm like, oh, like there's nothing for us to talk about. Like, I don't need to try to prove my humanity to you. But that's how geometry is connected to like our everyday. That's one of the ways it's connected to our everyday lives, because it's about, developing a cogent argument. We just use the shapes and everything as like examples. But
I like how you put that, though. I like, as far as the proofs go, and like saying, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I gave you 4 examples or reasons why this is this. Like, that's
it's logic. It's logic.
Yeah, it is, and I like logic.
Logic is a subgroup of geometry. Logic is embedded within geometry, and like when I watch Law and Order episodes, like how like when they arguing, they go before the judge, they be in the judge's chambers, and then they'd be like, well, in Smith versus Malarkey, like this didn't have, like, that's like a proof. It's like, I want to say this, and this is my reason why I can do this. I can make this argument, or I can ask that this evidence be admissible because of case law. The case law is like the triangle sum theorem from geometry that said in any triangle, all 3 angles must add up to 180 degrees. All 3, because, so it's like, okay, now because I know that, if I know 2 of the angles, then I can figure out the 3rd angle. So 50, one angle is 60, that's 110. So how many more do I need to get to 180? So I just got to do 180 minus 110 and it's 70. So it's like similarities, but it teaches us how to think. It teaches us how to think, not what to think, but teaches us how to think, how to figure stuff out. And that's something else I said on another podcast recently, is like, especially as grown men and women, children too, but especially as grown men and women, we got to know how to figure shit out. And a lot of times we don't know how to figure shit out.
You better say it.
That is harmful. That is dangerous to not know how to figure shit out. And what I say is that math classes, and the more complex, the better, because the more complex your problems, you need to have more complex problem solving skills. So, in math classes, the children may not realize it and the teachers may not realize it, because early in my career, I didn't realize this. So I wasn't having these explicit conversations with students, letting them know, like, look, in this math class, yeah, you might say, well, I'm never going to use the quadratic formula when I'm in the grocery store. I'm never going to use Pythagorean theorem in the grocery store. I'm like, bro, I know, I get it. But the process that you're going through to solve this problem, knowing, and when you got to first think, okay, do I even have to use the quadratic formula? Am I able to use it with this problem? Is it applicable here? That's teaching you how to figure shit out. Because in life, you got to figure out, okay, how am I going to solve this problem? First of all, let me identify the problem. First of all, can I recognize a problem when I see one? A lot of people be all out here, all hunky-dory, everything is all good. And you probably have been in places where it's like a lot of people, like somebody might be talking and everybody just clapping and cheering. And then you sitting there like, did y'all not hear what he just said? Am I the only one? Like, he really said,
what? Like, wait, what?
Exactly. Like, you know what I mean? So a lot of us don't even know how to identify problems. We think it's sweet. That's also
part of it's an over focus of the problem, not even moving to the solution. Oh my gosh, I was on a call with all these Black educators, these teachers, whatever, and I'm the only one out the classroom now. But they're talking about the problem, and you started out talking about this too, how people are conceptualizing Black people, or the Black parents to be particular, and saying, oh, they don't care, they want to come with their bonnets on, they want to come with their attitude. Like, they were going in the whole meeting. And I promise you, they talked about this stuff for like an hour and a half. And I finally spoke up and was like, so what's the solution? Y'all keep talking about y'all going in right now, but what solution are we getting to with this? Because this is bothering me at this point. Like, hyper focus on this problem and not working towards a solution.
Yeah, and I respect protocol and I respect the need for decorum in certain situations. However, at the same time, I also tend to be critical of respectability politics, or politics of respectability, whichever one it is, actually, because I know it's different. I know they're different. But I just did a math workshop in Baltimore at a elementary school, and it was a couple moms came in there. They had their bonnets on. And I'm like, hey, listen.
They in there. Look, they in there.
They could have been anywhere. They could have been at home cooking dinner. They probably worked all day. You know what I'm saying? But they was in there. They was in there to learn some math so that they would be better equipped to help their children with math homework. So we be worried about the wrong shit sometimes.
Man, you better say it.
You know, worried about the wrong shit sometimes. It's like, okay. You know, I get it. I get it. It's not really my fight, but I get it. But I'm more focused on, you know, can we get some work done? You know,
yes.
You know, how do we advance? How do we advance ourselves? You know, and then like, you know, it's a lot of class antagonism embedded within that too, because, you know, somebody that's got, you know, a couple college degrees, that's middle class. If they had a bonnet on, if you know that about them in their background and they had a bonnet on, you probably look at it differently. Like, oh, okay, you give them a pass. But let you be poor, working class, high school diploma only, live in a poor neighborhood, maybe on Section 8, then it's going to be a problem then. So it's like, there are different rules. And it's like, and I get the reality of the way things are now, but I still think it's bullshit.
Because she got a Gucci bonnet on. What you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, it's different.
Like, it's a lot of stuff that, so somebody might look at me and say, oh, you know, math professor, math teacher, you know, teaching math to the community, you know, 2 college degrees. Man, I do, you know, I've been in some trifling situations, you know, but if I had only had a high school, like, I don't get the criticism for those things though. And I'm like, nah, if you're going to criticize the brother that only got a high school diploma and, you know, maybe been to jail and came home and maybe is blue collar and can, you know, only work in fast food, maybe that's all he can handle right now, he qualifies for, you're going to criticize him for making that mistake. I might make the same mistake. Why are you not criticizing me? Criticize me too.
Oh, and you know, I intentionally leave my credentials out of things. Like when I talk and how, like, you know, I do it. I don't talk. I mean, they know, you know, they can assume that I have a bachelor's because of the fact that I've been in the classroom. But I don't talk about my master's degree. I don't talk about none of, you know, talk about anything really, because I just want people to hear me. Like, just hear me as someone who cares about you, who cares about your kids. Like, just hear this. Like, hear the passion in my voice. Hear the understand that this stuff, everything that I've created, has come from my passion and wanting to see us do better, wanting to see our kids reach their highest potential and not be so burnt out by the time they get to daggone 10th or 11th grade and they looking crazy and don't know themselves, don't know what their next move is because they've gone through a system that has not poured into them. Like, understand that. But people so bent and caught up in credentials that I talk and I entertain getting my doctorate because I feel like, oh, if I had a doctor, if it was Dr. J, whole different attitude. Like, word would be born. Like, they would be like, yo, did you hear what she said? Like, but now it's just like, all right, she don't need to do her hair. Like, we ain't listen to her.
Like, here's the thing. Like, you know, that's something else I've discussed before. I'm like, you give this person this respect because they have a PhD, but you didn't read their dissertation. How do you know that they really know what they're talking about?
Right.
Again, I don't have a PhD, but if I did, I would want you to hold me to that standard. Like, nah, read my PhD. Read it. See if I want. Indeed. Don't just assume I know what I'm talking about.
But they will. But they will.
Credibility, then you should go to, because like somebody might say, okay, LeBron's best player of all time, but you watch him play. So if you have that opinion, it's because you watched them play for real. So people say it's Jordan because they watched them play. So they give them that respect, right? So it's like, well, this person got, and a lot of people, they get into the public intellectual space and they know it's a good hustle. It's good work if you can get it. They like, oh, all I got to do is say I'm a Dr. So-and-so and people going to listen to whatever I say. And if I got something to sell, they're going to buy it because they're going to think I'm smart and I can just get away with it or whatever. They ain't going to read my dissertation. Dissertation might be straight bullshit.
Yes, all pages.
But part of that is how we've been conditioned to be anti-intellectual. And we have this kind of like this idea of intellect and knowledge tied to formal education, where we feel like, well, I could never do what they did. But it's like, well, you don't even know what they did. You probably could do what they did.
It's so wild that's like, you would think that we've grown out of that because of the fact of how it's shown, like the richest people that didn't even, some of them barely completed like grade school, let alone got a college degree. Like, so it's like, why would we even still be stuck there? Like, you know, I don't know, but it's a conditioning. I understand that. Intense programming, as I always say. I'd be telling people, like, you've been successfully programmed. You have been successfully programmed. But it is what it is. I've kept you way longer than I was supposed to, sir. I had 2 more questions for you, though. Okay. One, all that you do. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. But with all that you do and all that you pour out into our community, into our families, ensuring that, you know, we heal from our math traumas. How do you take care of you? How do you self-care? As a Black man in America, how do you self-care, sir?
That's a good question. I really enjoy my work, and people kind of like, you know, kind of give me pause when I say that. But it's like that cliche, like, you know, you find something you love, you never work a day in your life. A lot of people kind of think that's BS, but I really enjoy the work. And I think the reason I enjoy the work so much is because of a lot of our ancestors that I've studied and my admiration for them and how they really were so committed to Black liberation. And where it's like, that's like I think a lot, like when I was a classroom teacher, right? I'll give you an example. A lot of the things that people complain about, not that they shouldn't complain about them, a lot of the conditions in the classrooms and in the schools, my frame of reference was Kwame Ture and them when they was in SNCC in the 1960s in Mississippi, when they was like, they trying to teach Black people like how to read, how to do mathematics, provide political education. And at the same time, they got to worry about the Klan shooting them with rifles and all that. And I'm like, and it's hot, air conditioners, they in one room shacks and all this. And they trying to do the best they can with very limited resources. So I'm learning about that. So that became my frame of reference. So then when I'm in a school and administration is tripping, or these, this is not working, the copier is jammed, or, we got to do this PD that really is not beneficial. I'm like, to me, those things became minor inconveniences because of the standard from what I had studied and what I had seen from what our ancestors put up. Because I would kind of sit there like, almost kind of look at myself like, how dare I get real mad about this when I know what they went through? Like, this ain't nothing. Like, they handled much worse, and then you go back to like, on the plantation, people like organizing people to teach them how to read. Matter of fact, I'm reading about Martin Delaney. I told you I was reading Martin Delaney. He's born in Charlestown, West Virginia. Well, it wasn't West Virginia at the time. It was Virginia at that time, but Charlestown, Virginia. He has to go on the run. His mom takes him and his siblings. They had to go to Pennsylvania because it was against the law, even though they were free. They were free in Virginia, but you still couldn't teach your children. If you were Black, you still couldn't learn how to read and write. So mom bought the bootleg copy of like the reader, right? So they could teach them how to read and write. The kids were supposed to keep it on the low, but kids being kids, the way they was playing school. And some white man found it was playing school. They overheard it because they lived in a mixed neighborhood, right? Because they was free Blacks and it was a mixed neighborhood. It was white people in the neighborhood too. So that's how they found out. So they had to like up and leave, and then they had to lie and say that they was going to another part of Virginia, because if they had told they was going to cross state lines, then they would have locked her up. But because she told them like, nah, we just going to another part of Virginia to be closer to some other family, they was like, all right, cool. Like shit like that, like having to go through stuff like that just to teach your children how to read and write. So when I think about like, the work I'm doing, I'm blessed to be able to do it. So it's like, I appreciate the work. That's part of my self-care. Also, like, reading. I like reading because I get to learn new things. And the reading just helps me make sense of this place we live in.
Right. That's why.
Yeah. It gives me motivation.
Yes.
Especially when I found out like about stuff our ancestors did. I'm like, man, they were starting schools and they was doing this. And I'm like, okay, you know what?
And so young doing it too. That's always what sticks out to me, is like how young they were doing. That's why I know like we've gotten so far away from that type of tenacity in our young people. It's like, it's
I studied the Black Panther Party like in depth like years ago when I was teaching about them. And I was with some people out in Oakland last week. So I got to go to some of the Black Panther Party sites and whatnot. And I kind of got reconnected to a lot of that work, and just thinking about them being so young and like how they just created programming for the community. And they did it because there was a need. They just did it because there was a need. It wasn't really about like, a check or whatever. I mean, we need food, clothing, and shelters. You gotta get paid so you can provide for yourself and for your family. But it was just a need, you know what I mean? So those types of things are inspiring. So it always makes me happy when I find out about those things or I'm reminded.
Right.
So I guess my form of self-care is, and also hanging out with friends and family, my children. Yeah, hanging out with my children. Especially my youngest one, probably because out of all three of my children, he reminds me of myself so much. Like, I feel like I'm talking to myself at that age.
Aww.
It's uncanny almost. And my mom says the same thing. So it's like, I know I'm not tripping because like my mom says the same thing. Like, he really reminds her of me at his age, he always has. But just as like his demeanor and the way he approaches things, approaches the world, and just so it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
Nice. I love that. I love that. I recently befriended a former Panther Party member. He was a political prisoner, Veronza Bowers Jr. He did 51 years for a crime he did not commit. And we play chess. We play chess every day on the phone. So that's my buddy, and I love learning from him. So I can understand, your dive into history. I would say he's like a walking history book. It's like I love that connection, like being able. I love talking to elders, anyways, for that very reason, because they were there. Like they could tell you because they were there. But I'm glad outside. You came around because yes, they was. They was outside doing it. They really were. But I'm glad you understand about taking care of yourself, because how you started and was just like, oh, I love my work. I was like, oh, so you ain't taking care of it, but you put some stuff in there. So thank you for that. Thank you for understanding the importance of making sure you are replenished. And especially,
I will say this since you bring this up. One of the things I'm working on is getting more sleep. I'm trying to get more sleep because I realize that there's like an unlearning process. And I think that because, my whole life, our whole lives, growing up in a capitalist system where there's so much associated with productivity, so much emphasis on productivity. Whereas sleep is seen as, well, you're not being productive when you're sleeping, so we tend to not want to sleep because we want to be doing something, want to be earning some money or doing something that seems tangible, so to speak. So yeah, I would like to. I'm in the process of, trying to, make sure that I consistently am getting more sleep. I also went to the gym this morning, so that's went to the gym this morning. Haven't been to the gym in a while. I try to get my walks in so I can get my cardio in because I'm getting old. I'm almost 50. That's what I always round.
You are getting older, so you are not getting old. Like I tell, how long you expect to live if you feel like you're getting old? Like, because I'm going to about 100. I'm probably tap out about 80. I'm trying to.
Yeah.
You trying to get to 100 too? See, look, yeah. So you only halfway there, honey. You got plenty of time, and you ain't even halfway there. You what? 45?
Well, yeah, I'll be 46 in 2 weeks.
Okay. Oh, okay. What's that?
So I'm 2 days.
It's not still Pisces, is it? It's not.
No, it's Taurus.
Taurus. Okay. Okay. Yes. Sleep is necessary, and I'm glad you put that in there because I'm not a grinder. I tell people, well, all the things that I have, all these lovely things I do, I go to bed at 9:30. Okay, I don't play no games. I'm shutting down about 8. Like I don't even want my kids to talk to me really after 7:30. So rest is essential.
The first time I got introduced to that as a concept, going to bed early like that, was I was reading some years ago one of the biographies on Du Bois. And Du Bois talked about how they said he went to bed at religiously at 10 p.m. every night. He would get up early though. He'd get up at 5, but he went to bed.
Yeah, I get up 5:30.
Yeah, he went to bed at 10 p.m. every night. And I was like, yo, that would probably be dope, man. I'd probably be think about productivity. Man, I'd probably be on point, man. But I never did it. I never could bring myself. I never brought myself. But the idea is there. The seed was planted. The seed was planted when I read that. I was like, yeah, it'd be like the boys, go to bed at 10 o'clock. You know what I mean? But yeah, the seed is planted. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll do that. But I do like getting up early. I find it's not just about the productivity, but I find that I'm able to get a lot. I think my thoughts are more clear and crisp, early in the morning. Early in the morning, I thought I'd be thinking about stuff and stuff just be making more sense.
It's quiet. Quiet. I have slow mornings. My girls don't get up till 10. So I got a whole 5 hours before they get up. And I'm just, I like that. Look, I need that. We together all day. Cause once they up, honey, it's can we do this? Oh my. So yeah, that's necessary for me, but I also need to sleep. So I'm laying it down because I do so much thinking. Like you gotta rest. Like you have to rest mentally and physically. You have to rest. And those are golden hours too. Like if I wanna be able to get up at like 4:30 and then be productive the rest of the day because that's when it's really like, oh shucks, you up? The sun ain't even up yet. But I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Not there. But thank you. Okay. So last one. If our listeners didn't hear anything else during this conversation, what's 3 things you would like to leave them with?
3 things. Okay. One thing is, as you're trying to help your children develop their math skills, give yourself grace and room to make mistakes, because I don't know if parents may not consciously understand this or think of this. Even classroom teachers, like we make mistakes all the time. Sometimes we be having like the best lesson plans laid out. Like, oh, I'm gonna kill them tomorrow. I'm gonna get them with this. Come in Monday, don't nobody understand nothing. And you just knew like this lesson plan was going to kill them, right? Everybody was going to be like, on all cylinders, right? It was going to fully understand. People was going to be engaged, all that. You just knew it, but it just didn't work. Go back to the drawing board. Got to revamp it, reteach it. So if that happens to us, then as a parent, don't feel too bad. Plus, as a parent, you have something that we as teachers don't have. You have more rapport with your children, more of a relationship. Sometimes that can be a negative thing, but hopefully it's more of a positive, because your children better. You know their learning style better. You know what they like, what they dislike. Better. So one thing, give yourself grace and space to make mistakes when you're trying to teach them. Number 2, lead by example. Lead by example. Learn the math that you never learned. And it's one of the reasons that school-based instruction can be so difficult is because there's a time crunch, right? Time crunch. There's so many people, I'm sure, that because the curriculum says, or the scope and sequence says, we have 1 week to cover this topic. Well, what if I'm not going to understand it in 1 week? What if I need 2 weeks? But we don't got 2 weeks, so that you just ain't going to understand it. And then with a subject like math, it's relative. Now we get to the next topic, but I need to know the previous topic to understand the next topic. Well, you got to get it in 1 week. Well, I can't get it in 1 week. Well, you just ain't going to get it. That means I'm not going to get the next topic neither. And then the next topic, I'm not going to get that neither, because I didn't have enough time. So when you as a parent, when you're trying to learn the math that you never learned before, you have time on your side. So you might need weeks, Also, your frontal lobe wasn't developed when you were a child. So your thought process things might be more clear, make more sense. Also, those applications and those word problems that you were given, because why, you in 6th grade, they talking about, you taking a trip and paying a mortgage and having to pay rent and all that type of stuff. You never did none of that before. That's beyond the scope of your lived experience. So whereas you could have figured it out, and a lot of kids figure it out, but it's going to be even easier now because you've really done those things. So the math is only used as like a language to take the experience that you've actually had and to kind of frame it. That's what the algebra is for. That's what y equals mx plus b is for. It's just a way of framing things that you've already actually done in real life. So as parents, lead by example, learn the math that you never learned. So that way you can set the example for your children. And also you can take your time with it. Third thing, what's the third thing? For parents, this is parents of homeschoolers, or parents of any type of parent.
Yeah, any type of parents.
Try to connect the math with the reading. Yeah, try to connect the math. One of the things I try to do with my work is blur the lines. debunk the false dichotomy between reading person versus math person, because you need to in order to do the math, because of the word problems and the math applications. You got to be able to do the reading in order to be able to apply the math. So yeah. So 3 things. Yeah, give your children grace and give yourself time. Give yourself time and grace to help your children. What was the second one? Oh, lead by example. Learn the math that you never learned, and try to blur the lines between being a reading person and a math person. And also, a subtopic of the third comment, which is just know that you were born a math person.
I feel like all of that was talking to me. I feel like all 3 of them was for me.
Cool. Yeah.
But I am doing one though. I will tell you that. Like I told you, I'm taking my time with the multiplication. Like I'm making sure the girls, like, don't get. Don't want to traumatize them with it. But yeah, the grace. I'm definitely giving grace. Definitely for myself. Definitely. But I appreciate you, Professor Parker. Like this has been very empowering. And I appreciate you for the work that you're doing in our community and ensuring that parents are supported and leading. I love that you said that, like, parents are our greatest resource. They really are. And that's what I'm trying to get them to tap back into. Like, yo, tag. Look, I'm tagging you back in. Like, understand. You are needed. No matter where your child is, you should be homeschooling your kid. I'm always say that.
Yeah, and I think too, like those of us that, like myself, like all of my children went to school, went to public school. We have to learn from homeschoolers. I think homeschoolers are another underutilized resource where we have to, because we got to figure out ways to, because what I call it is I call it hybrid homeschooling, where when your children are at home, we should be schooling them, like regardless. Children are at home, so even if they at school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. when they come home, or we be riding in the car, that should still be an educational experience.
Yes.
And the homeschoolers are the ones that have the experience with doing that on a regular basis and on a consistent basis. So there's a lot that we can learn from y'all. And I think that, yeah, we gotta tap in. Like we gotta really, like, as a community, start tapping in and stop looking at homeschooling as if it's weird or something. Because the thing is, it's like you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, well, these schools are failing. Well, and that's another thing. I think the schools work perfectly. The schools are not working perfectly to achieve the results that they intend for, right? The same educational problems that are prevalent now were prevalent 50 years ago. If it wasn't a problem, they would have fixed it by now. Or if it was a problem, they would have fixed it by now.
Man, we can't, you better say it.
The schools are failing, but then, an alternative is homeschooling, and then look at homeschooling like it's weird. We can't have it both ways. So we gotta tap in. We gotta tap in with homeschoolers and learn what they're doing. So we can be the primary educators, because everybody likes to say it starts in the home, but we got to figure out what that looks like. And
Indeed.
It might look the same for everybody.
It does not. It does not, and it doesn't have to.
Yeah. So, yeah, we got to do that, because the schools, like H. Rap Brown, Imam Jamil Alameen, rest in peace to him. He said one of his famous lines that I always quote is that, any institution that you do not control can be weaponized against you. And they're often weaponized against us. So I think one way to, address that is, we got to become the primary educators. So when our children go, they're going for practice.
And I love that you said that earlier too. Yeah, they are going for practice to reiterate and had some repetition to what you have already instilled, the foundation that is needed. Oh, this is dope. I appreciate you so much, Professor Parker. I look forward to connecting more. All links will be available in the description for how you can contact him and get in his programs and workshops and possibly tutoring, because I need to sign mine up. But I appreciate you. And parents, you already know what I'm going to say. Homeschool your kids.